Tonight, Canada scores 13 games in soccer's biggest tournament. Toronto and Vancouver.
We are Canada.
Welcoming the World Cup.
It's just going to fill the streets with so much energy.
American airstrikes in the Middle East. With a blunt warning from Washington.
This was the beginning of our response.
Plus, a Canadian company's contentious plan to fight climate change. Early results.
That I would call a huge success.
And resistance.
We have drawn a line in the sand.
CTV National News with Heather Butts.
Good evening. As this country prepares to welcome the world's best soccer players, FIFA revealed today Canada will host 13 games during the 2026 World Cup. Officials rolled out the roadmap for one of the biggest sporting events on the planet, giving the massive fan base added excitement, knowing when and where to watch. Matches will be held in 16 host cities within Canada, the U.S. and Mexico. 48 teams will take part over 5 weeks. A historic moment for this country as the men's soccer showcase comes to Canada for the first time. CTV's Kamal Karamali reports.
Will be held in Toronto.
And with that, the beautiful game made a historical stride in Canada. The first ever FIFA World Cup match on Canadian soil will be in Toronto.
We've had a lot of success in that stadium, especially in the World Cup qualifying, so we're super excited.
Toronto's unofficial ambassador making the pitch to the world.
Please, feel free to visit Canada. We are the nicest people you will ever meet in your life.
Both Toronto and Vancouver will host 5 group stage matches. Team Canada will have its first match in Toronto on June 12th and then 2 in Vancouver on June 18th and the 24th. Both cities will host a knockout round game July 2nd, with Vancouver being home to an additional match in the next round.
I've already got my name on the wait list. We'll bring more people to the game. It'll advance the game more.
Hosting the games is expected to cost Toronto roughly $300 million, the city and province committing roughly 1/3. Ottawa hasn't chipped in yet. But the payoff expected to produce over $300 million in economic impact, create 3,300 jobs, and bring in tens of thousands of visitors. BMO Field says it's added more than 17,000 new seats, making the new capacity limit over 45,000. For Vancouver, the price tag was expected to be up to $260 million. The city has implemented a hotel tax until 2030, expected to offset most of the costs. BC Place will have a limit of over 54,000 fans.
They're estimating that's $1 billion probably into British Columbia. So this is something that's going to be just a fabulous opportunity.
And although there's a lot of buzz in Canada, it's actually the U.S. that'll have much of the spotlight during the knockout rounds, with the quarter and semifinals taking place in U.S. cities and the World Cup final in New Jersey on July 19th. Heather.
Thanks, Kamal. A high-profile investigation involving Canadian hockey players enters its next phase tomorrow. Lawyers for the 5 former World Juniors will be in a London, Ontario courtroom. A first appearance for sexual assault charges that have garnered international attention and put a spotlight on the sports culture. CTV's Heather Wright is in London with what to expect.
The first appearance is set for tomorrow inside this London, Ontario courthouse. The players are not expected to attend. Instead, their lawyers will speak on their behalf.
This is really just a check-in. It's an opportunity for everybody to say whether or not they have counsel. It's an opportunity for the Crown to indicate how long the disclosure process will take.
Each player faces 1 count of sexual assault, while New Jersey Devils center Michael McLeod faces an additional charge of being party to the offense. Carter Hart, Alex Fermenton, Cal Foote, Dylan Dubé, and McLeod all surrendered to London police late last month and have since been released. They're accused of sexually assaulting a young woman in a hotel room following a Hockey Canada gala in 2018. A case that was closed by the London Police Service but reopened in 2022. Following outrage that a lawsuit filed by the alleged victim was was quietly settled by Hockey Canada.
What happened between February 19 and this month is really unclear. And I think that as the case unfolds, the public will find out more and more about, in fact, what led to these charges and what led to the delay.
London police will hold a news conference tomorrow where those questions are likely to be asked. The players maintain their innocence and their lawyers say they will vigorously fight these charges.
This is not representative, these allegations, of what takes place in our game.
NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman was asked about this case during the All-Star weekend, saying the league will wait until the judicial process is over to make any decisions. Some believe the NHL should take a stronger stance.
I've yet to see anyone make any clear statement saying we will not tolerate this and there will be repercussions.
The court appearance tomorrow will likely be brief. It's not expected that any pleas will be entered, and it could still be some time until a trial date is set. Heather.
CTV's Heather Wright in London. The U.S. is vowing more retaliation for the deaths of American soldiers in the Middle East. At the same time, the U.S. uses force. It's also trying diplomacy as the Secretary of State travels to the region again. CTV's Jeremy Charon reports.
After a second round of strikes against Iranian-backed targets in as many days, today the U.S. is vowing further action in the Middle East.
We intend to take additional strikes and additional action to continue to send a clear message that the United States will respond when our forces are attacked or our people are killed.
U.S. and U.K. military forces struck dozens of targets in Yemen Saturday night and hit weapons they say the Houthis were preparing to launch against ships in the Red Sea. The mission carried out with the help of allied countries, including Canada. Just a day after American forces hit targets in Iraq and Syria in response to the killing of 3 U.S. soldiers.
We are continuing to go after their ability to hit us. And in the case of the Houthis, to hit international shipping. We are trying to take away their capability, make it harder for them to throw these punches. Again, we think we've achieved good effects in both rounds of these strikes.
U.S. officials maintain they are looking to de-escalate tensions in the region. Despite accusations from adversaries, they are fueling the conflict. Houthi supporters rallied in Yemen today. The rebel group has vowed retaliation and says the attacks won't deter them from supporting Palestinians in Gaza, where today they are sorting through the rubble after the latest round of strikes. Israel has promised the war won't end until Hamas is destroyed. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told his cabinet today 17 of Hamas's 24 combat battalions have been dismantled.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken began his 5th visit to the Middle East since the war began today, expected to make diplomatic efforts towards the release of remaining hostages and an extended humanitarian pause. Heather?
Jeremy, thank you. It's in the war-torn enclave of Gaza that a Palestinian-Canadian journalist, Mansour Shouman, has gone missing. Today, people gathered in Toronto to bring awareness to the issue and call for help in his safe return. CTV's Beth McNamara has more.
Free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine!
On Toronto's streets, as calls for the conflict between Israel and Hamas to end rages on, the safety of Mansour Shouman, a 39-year-old Palestinian-Canadian husband and father in Gaza, may hang in the balance. Disappearing 2 weeks ago, his supporters say.
We just on a kind of a do right now.
Family spokesperson Zahira Samar is a friend and colleague who had been communicating with Shouman daily as he created updates for social media about the situation on the ground in Gaza. Sumar says days after losing contact, there was more troubling news.
And that's when we got hold of the 3 eyewitnesses that said on Tuesday, when he was making his way from Khan Yunis to Rafah, we saw him being arrested by IDF.
No one at Global Affairs Canada or in the government says Shouman was arrested by Israeli forces. His wife and children previously left Gaza, taking refuge in Abu Dhabi, where his mother lives. Sick with worry, she made this audio recording, played for the crowd.
Please, please don't forget Mansour. Speak about him every day, speak about him.
Consular officials at Global Affairs, as well as in the field, have been in touch with the family. The minister herself talked to the family this week and have assured the family that we are doing everything we can to find out this person's whereabouts.
A statement from Global Affairs Canada says, due to privacy considerations, no further information can be disclosed, while Shouman's supporters and mother wait.
She can't function, she can't sleep.
To learn where he is. Tonight, Global Affairs Canada says consular officials continue to monitor the situation closely and remain in direct contact with family members. Heather?
Beth, thank you for this. A brutal winter storm is hammering eastern Canada, where police in a number of communities are urging people to stay home. In Halifax, drifting snow is causing poor visibility, forcing delays and cancellations for air travelers. Schools are already planning to be closed tomorrow. Some parts of Nova Scotia have received more than 80 centimeters of snow this weekend. On hard-hit Cape Breton Island, a local state of emergency has been declared, with the mayor calling on provincial and federal governments for help. CTV's Jesse Thomas reports.
There's so much snow that's fallen in parts of Cape Breton this weekend that it's trapping some people inside their homes. Like this video in Glace Bay from Pam Leader that shows heavy snow sliding from the rooftop, closing them off from the outside.
Most certainly, yeah. There are people who have not been able to get out. Or they might not be physically able to get out and actually remove snow. So their doors, like I said, the snow is up more than halfway on my patio doors. You can't just push that open. It's part of the reason the Cape Breton Regional Municipal Council voted early this afternoon to declare a local state of emergency. We've never seen this much snow in such a short period of time, and I think that's really problematic, right? That's what we're dealing with here. It was so fast, so furious, and it's not done, unfortunately. Snow has blanketed the region, and the scenes are unbelievable, like this front lawn flamingo in Coxheath near Sydney River that has disappeared right before our eyes, fully submerged under the snow. And although there's not many people outside and on the roads, McDougall says the local state of emergency gives the municipality authority to limit travel in the region. They want people to stay home. Being home is the safest place that you can be. We need to give space to our public works departments to do the important work of road clearing. And there's other incredible video from around the Maritimes, like this scene from Antigonish, where David McGuinness has been digging out this weekend. He says he's never seen this much snow. Parts of PEI were digging out too. The stalled out snow system is really leaving its mark. CBRM's mayor says they alone don't have the resources to deal with the sheer amount of snow and blowing snow. It's why they're seeking support from upper levels of government. So the province, federal government, anybody who can help, we will need all hands on deck. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
A powerful storm is crushing California, sparking extremely rare hurricane-force wind warnings for the state. Dangerous winds of up to 160 kilometers an hour pounding some areas. Trees toppled over on cars as more than a month's worth of rain is expected to fall in the next few days. While along the Nevada border, people in the mountains are bracing for what could add up to nearly 2 meters of snow. Coming up, an unusual plan to fight climate change.
It's basically an open experiment with the environment.
One Canadian company's drop in the ocean. The future site of an electric vehicle battery plant near Montreal is sparking controversy. Demonstrators are concerned construction will destroy wetlands and wooded areas housing endangered species. People are demanding an independent environmental assessment.
That will set a really bad precedent in Quebec if the biggest industrial project in Quebec history doesn't go through a proper and independent environmental assessment.
Work on the Northvolt site has resumed after a Superior Court judge rejected an injunction to stop demolition. Canadians will be hearing a lot more about the experimental work of a Nova Scotia-based company with an unusual plan to fight climate change. The bold idea looks to help the ocean better absorb carbon dioxide, but it's also facing scrutiny and opposition from some groups who question its safety. Avis Favreau reports.
Over the last few months, a Canadian company
has flushed over 278 tons of this magnesium hydroxide from a mine in China into the waters of Halifax Harbor. It's part of a study by Planetary Technologies to see if this Canadian firm can fight climate change using the oceans without harming water and wildlife.
All the preliminary results say that there was zero effect on any ecosystem within the harbor. And so that I would call a huge success.
It's a form of what's called marine geoengineering, called ocean alkalinity enhancement. That magnesium is a laxative, but it also dissolves in the waters to make them less acidic, allowing them to naturally soak up more carbon from the atmosphere. There's been little public discussion in Canada about the tests of this technology, but when the company launched a similar study in the southwest coast of England, it encountered this.
Today we have drawn a line in the sand.
Huge resistance from local communities and environmentalists.
The more we learned, the more worried we got. We were worried about the feasibility of this as a solution to climate change. We were worried about the water chemistry. We were worried about the impacts on the ecosystem. And we were worried about the fact that there's no governance nationally or internationally really for this.
In response, the UK government commissioned a report due out soon to evaluate the firm's testing plans. Meanwhile, other scientists have urged this technology should be pursued with caution.
It's basically an open experiment with the environment. You've got no way of controlling things or switching things back if it doesn't go to plan.
And members of the International Marine Organization announced they intend to regulate projects like this due to the potential for effects that are widespread, long-lasting, or severe. But the company insists it is moving slowly and carefully with scientists from Dalhousie University.
There is no way that we know enough to go and do this at, tremendous scale. But nobody's proposing that we do that. I think right now what we're proposing is that we do it at very small scales and that we learn and that we go along and we move forward.
The company, meanwhile, says it will be expanding its water testing to other yet unnamed Canadian communities this year, with most people unaware of the controversies around this new technology. Avis Favreau, CTV News, Toronto.
Trillion-dollar tech empire Facebook turned 20 years old today. The social media giant has connected people online and made mountains of money from advertising. On February 4th, 2004, founder Mark Zuckerberg launched thefacebook.com from his Harvard dorm. The platform exploded in popularity, growing to 3 billion active users. Facebook, now under the umbrella company Meta, has encountered numerous privacy and user safety issues. Just days ago, Zuckerberg was grilled by U.S. senators to improve child safety. Still ahead, a dating service of sorts. The program looking to line you up with a cuddly companion who enjoys long walks and kibble. Shelter dogs need love, or at the very least, a date. Now, Winnipeg's Animal Services branch has delivered a unique program to help. CTV's Manitoba Bureau Chief Jill Makashon explains.
Maybe you're looking for a brown-eyed beauty.
Sit.
A good listener, or the quiet type. Winnipeg's Animal Services has a doggy date for you.
The Doggy Date program is super cool, it's fun, and it's innovative. Participants can either take the dog for a day, a weekend, or they can take it up to a week.
Designed for people who can't accommodate a dog permanently but love to spend time with them, daters can choose from one of the available shelter dogs from posted photos or request to be matched by Animal Services staff.
So I'm just going to ask you a few questions.
Applicants are screened and then they decide the date.
And people can take these dogs to home, they can take them to their workplace, green spaces.
Today, Mac is the lucky dog. He has been chosen for a date which comes with the essentials: a collar, leash, food, and a flashy Adopt Me vest. And this dog is in good hands. Tara Chattel has 2 shelter dogs at home, one she found through this program.
Bo, I actually brought home on a doggy date and never returned him. A lot of the misconceptions is that, all shelter dogs have behavioral issues and things like that. And I've spent a lot of time with a lot of different shelter dogs, and that isn't the case. I think that when you meet a dog, give an opportunity to let a dog decompress and You know, see their demeanor and their personality. They have like so much to give.
Animal Services doesn't track how many dates turn to adoptions, but through the doggy date photos submitted on their social media channels, they see the inspiration.
The cost of this date, a deposit, which is the same as the adoption fee, which could turn a day into forever. Jill Makishon, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Now that might be something you want to put on your list. After the break, an inspiring account of committing to crossing things off your list. We leave you tonight with a bucket list of sorts, the ever-evolving agenda of things you want to do in life. Tonight, CTV's Adam Sawatsky shares the journey of a Vancouver Island woman hoping to inspire others to not only write things down, but cross them off the list.
For as long as she can recall, Sharon Stevens Smith has been compelled to make lists.
Write everything down that you want to do in your life. Doesn't matter how ridiculous it is.
From childhood through to her early 20s, Sharon's list of life goals was relatively consistent.
Ride a motorcycle, go to Africa, work with the primates, and one day I'm going to write a children's book.
While she worked as a nurse for a few years, before becoming a realtor for almost 40, Sharon always returned to her list. Like when she bought a motorcycle, sight unseen.
Didn't even have a license. Never even sat on a motorcycle.
Yet 3 weeks later, Sharon had taken lessons, earned her license, and rode from Vancouver Island to a major bike rally in South Dakota.
So it was very unusual to see a woman in those days, and the trucks and everything would go by me, and they'd give me the thumbs up. Like, there's a crazy woman on a bike.
Sharon crossed Africa off her list 3 times after returning to university as a mature student, partaking in archaeological digs, and inspiring a marriage proposal.
The chief wanted to buy me for 3 camels and 4 goats. I said, first of all, is that a good price or not before I commit?
As for studying primates, Sharon traveled to Borneo to do research with the world's leading ape expert and befriended a rescue orangutan named Herbie.
Oh, he was a real character. We had lots of fun.
Now, 20 years after crossing offshore sailing with calico cats off her list, the expedition has inspired the now 80-year-old to cross off, write a children's book, too.
You better get cracking here. You haven't got that many more years left. That's how I look at things.
But Sharon is also sharing Runty and Trudy's grand sailing adventure with the public, with the hope that publishing the true story will inspire readers of all ages to embrace the unfamiliar and live a courageous life.
We have one life. Let's make the best we can.
And no matter what's on your list, Sharon says, just commit to do it.
The great thing is once you check the list off and you think, okay, next.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, View Royal.
Just start that list. That's our show for this evening. I'm Heather Butts. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Omar and Sandy are back tomorrow, and I'll see you again on Friday. Good night.